Hola, bom dia a todos. Carl Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal live stream, YouTube channel and podcast. I know we've had a few problems with sound starting just recently. I've got Julie Dawn Fox in the green room. Julie, can you wave at me if you can hear me all right? Oh, good. Good. That's excellent. That's really good. Thank you. You're also a producer today, as well as our guest here on the Good Morning Portugal live stream. We're live on Facebook, and as you can see there, it's in the top left-hand corner, it says the Happy Homesteaders live stream, which reminds me that's what it was all about, living the good life in Portugal. Then along came COVID, and now it's so weird how that curveball has affected our lives in ways that are quite obvious, but also ways that aren't so obvious. And I'm sure that will come into the conversation with Julie Dawn Fox, who is a prolific blogger. She's written loads about Portugal. She is I think she calls herself the outsider on the inside. And she has all the intel for people who want to come and be living the dream, I guess, in Portugal. So we'll talk to her after a bit of weather and news. The screen that you saw before we came on this morning is the view from the window here of our glorious pine tree outside and our courgette plants. And that's definitely honouring the happy homesteading angle here on Good Morning Portugal. And I've got to get back to more of that, but there are so many things going on in the world that I think we should also keep our eye on as well. A few messages coming in already. We have Carl. Yes, my friend, the other Carl, Carl McAdam. It's not letting me show the comments this morning. Let's see if we can check in on that a little bit later. The show wouldn't be complete without one little technical difficulty. Oh, here we go. Bon dia, senor. Well done, bro, from Carl. Thanks. I'm not sure. Well done on making another year. Carl, when you get to our age, I suppose it is a bit of an achievement. Bon dia, Carl. Feliz aniversario. Thank you, FD. Rafa, who I think we've seen you maybe once or twice here before, but you're so welcome. A laugh from Rafa this morning. And Peggy, I think Peggy's going to be a regular. Prosecco Peggy, as we know her, in the Algarve. Bon dia. Have you opened the bottle already? As you said yesterday, it's noon somewhere, Peggy, and you've got a good excuse. You can use my birthday if you wish. Oh, look at you all wishing me happy birthday. Very kind. Veronica, happy birthday from you as well. Thank you so much. Oh, and good morning, Carl, from sunny Zambujeira de Mar, Claire and Steve. It is my birthday, Peggy, so go ahead, uncork that bottle, enjoy as if you needed an excuse. Quick look at the weather then. As we've been saying over the last few days, we all know it's hot at the moment. How long will this last for? Will there be any relief from that intense heat? Let's find out. Oh, yeah, just reminded, talking about the view from the studio and that the placeholder that I put up to give everyone a chance to get comfortably in their seat with their chosen beverage of the morning and their toast or whatever. Yesterday's, I forgot to mention that the artist Terence Austin was the man who was behind the image yesterday, that beautiful picture of the San Martino de Porto Bay with a Labradoodle, I think, in the foreground. Really nice. Go to terenceaustinartist.com for more of his lovely work. Okay, back to the weather. Lisbon then, 20 degrees at the moment. But look, it's going to rise to 31 degrees. It's going to be a little cooler tomorrow. And then it will rise again for the weekend, rising to a high of 31 on Saturday, 32 next week. So this good weather, if it's funny, isn't it, how we just assume that sunny weather is good weather? It's what a lot of us came here for, right? For warmer weather. And then, of course, the chance to complain when it gets too hot. So let's see if that's going to happen in Porto. No, fairly comfortable, warm. Rising to a high of 29 at the weekend. Bit cloudy on Saturday. Coimbra, central Portugal, look at this, 34 degrees today. It was hot yesterday, a little bit of a dip and relief tomorrow at 29, but rising again, 32, 33, 35 by Saturday and 34 on Sunday and Monday. Finally in the south, 31 degree high today. A bit cloudy, bit of relief from the intensity of the sun today for you down there in the south, but 29 tomorrow. Little bit cooler midweek and then rising again to 28. So central Portugal has it in terms of the hot weather, but certainly very nice all over the country, it would appear. A little bit of news before we talk to Julie. I'll share this with you on the screen, actually, at the risk of crashing the tech, which sometimes happens, so bear with me if it does. But this is a newspaper or online paper How can it be an online paper? Online news source, Algarve Daily News. Oh, come on, Grandad. It's me age, isn't it? Portuguese capital fights Airbnb dominance after tourism dive. This is algarvedailynews.com. Just in the last decade, this is going back a week or so now, but I think this is an interesting story, and it is checking in with our Earth Mother loving roots here on this show. Let me put it like that. Just in the last decade, Portugal's capital city has cut its energy use and climate changing emissions, installed one of the world's biggest electric car charging networks, and expanded cycling, walking and public green space. The shifts have eased air pollution, cut costs this year, led to the city being named Europe's green capital for 2020. I didn't know that. Congratulations, Lisbon. Parabéns for that. The first such designation for a Southern European capital. Big up the Southern European countries then in this regard. But Lisbon still struggles with a city centre hollowed out by high housing prices and a proliferation of apartments turned into short-term Airbnb tourist rentals. We knew that would happen, didn't we? Which forces many workers to motor in from homes in the suburbs, says Mayor Fernando Medina. Anyone who's lived in Lisbon and has to cross the bridge or drive to work will know how impossible and unpleasant, frankly, that's become. I used to do that. Now officials hope to turn a new challenge at the coronavirus lockdown, which has flattened many European economies, into a tool to wrest Lisbon into a more sustainable housing path. I'm loving the writing here. Under a new Renda Segura, the secure income program, the city is trying to lure apartment owners who's turned to short lets to ride the city's tourism boom into renting to locals instead, with a city guaranteed return. Good news, I think. Let me know what you think in the comments. And of course, I'm encouraging more phoning in. The phone-in starts on Friday. Make a note of that number, 913-590-303. I'll keep giving that out, but hoping people will take advantage of the new phone-in that starts on Friday. Anyway, back to this, algarvedailynews.com. Currently, around 25,000 apartments are registered as short-term lets. Wow. About 8% of the city's total, says Medina, who has led Lisbon, a city of 500,000 people, since 2015. The scheme here, the Renda Segura, did I call it something else just now? Idea predates the coronavirus pandemic, the mayor said. But as tourists stay home, Lisbon's empty flats and owners' dwindling bank balances may now make the offer more enticing. So far, about 100 apartment owners have expressed interest in the plan, which aims to secure 1,000 housing units this year, Medina said. Right now, they are getting nothing. We have made a solution for them, the mayor said. So read more about that at algarvedailynews.com. It does go back to the 29th of June, this particular article, but just a little bit more of eco news here. More than 100 kilometres, 62 miles of new cycle paths are scheduled to be built before next spring, around 80% of them this year, with new routes focused for the first time on connecting homes and workplaces, he said. A smart city for sure. Medina views the coronavirus pandemic as the moment to speed up the sustainability agenda. Well done, Senor Medina, which in Lisbon has been first focused on reducing city sprawl, cars and commuting, and producing a denser, cyclable city with more affordable housing. Well done, Lisbon, for being visionary there in that regard. So, a little bit of news there, a little bit of weather for you. And now, if I may refer to you as the main event, Julie Dawn Fox, here you are on the Good Morning Portugal live stream. Hola, bom dia, tudo bem?
Sim, tudo bem. Obrigada, Carl. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. And happy birthday. You didn't tell me that.
Well, I must say, I'm one of those people who keeps it a bit quiet. Not because I'm not actually that bothered about getting older any more than probably everyone is a little bit bothered about getting older. But I just don't make a big thing of it. But I'm so glad the rest of you are. So thank you for that. I accept your birthday greeting. Thank you. And sorry for not telling you.
And no, sorry, I'm the same. I kind of don't really make a big fuss over mine. So I get it.
All right,
yeah, but that's good news about the smart city thing and the cycle paths in Lisbon. Yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's good that, isn't it? Yeah, because I think everyone could see this kind of Airbnb thing cooking. If you looked at Barcelona or Amsterdam, the writing's on the wall, isn't it, for that? And local people getting priced out of their own town, city, or whatever. So really, yeah, big up, well done to the people running Lisbon there, and hopefully, yeah, there will be people enjoying life back in the where perhaps they grew up, which is only right. Julie, your work is there for everyone to see across the internet. Anyone interested in Portugal, I think, will have come across your name. So it's fantastic to have you as a bit of an institution for expats and explorers, people who are living here, people thinking about coming here. Is that who you see are your audience, the ones who are on their way and are interested?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started the blog back 10 years ago now, I was writing more about, I was in more of a mixture of my personal experiences of settling into Portugal as a new country, the things I was finding different, interesting, funny, frustrating, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of that on my blog. But then my true passion really is travel. And so over the years, the content has evolved more on the travel side of things, although, it's still, what I have is still obviously of use and of interest to people who are thinking of actually, establishing a home here in Portugal, as well as just visiting. So it serves both kind of types of visitor, really, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's quite some time ago. I think Portugal's probably changed quite a lot in those 10 years. Winding back there, can I ask you about your move? I mean, had you long hoped to move to Portugal? Why Portugal, and where? I mean, the big question is, for somebody who knows a lot about Portugal, is like, where do you decide to live? Because that's a real clue to other people, isn't it, about what might be a cracking place to be in Portugal. So what got you going to be here, and where did you end up?
Right, well, my story was basically before I came to Portugal, I had been teaching English as a foreign language in other countries, in Spain, Tanzania, Venezuela, and I kind of, I was on my own as well, so I was a bit tired of the kind of transient lifestyle. I wanted to put down some roots. I wanted to be closer to family, but not in the UK. And so I applied for jobs in Portugal and in Spain. I got the job in Coimbra. So that was kind of why I ended up in Coimbra to start off with. And then I met my husband at work in Coimbra, and he already had bought a house in this village that we live in now. And so it kind of just happened, really. There was no sort of, well, we did, when we got together and just realised it was serious, I love this house, but at the time, I thought I wanted to live a bit closer to Coimbra because we were both working there. So we did look around for something that was nearer on a public transport route, because this is quite isolated, really. But to be honest, we couldn't find anything that we really, really liked that was better than what we've got, because we've got an amazing view of the river, and yeah, it's just really nice. So yeah, here we are. We're happy. We stayed, and yeah, it's cool.
That's central Portugal, not far from Coimbra, then.
Yeah, it's about well, just to drive. The drive can take about 35, 40 minutes. But if we, for example, if we were going for an appointment or a work thing, then you give yourself an hour to park and everything.
It's funny that, I mean, we are going to be talking about driving. Peggy started this yesterday. Actually, there's a few messages for Peggy. She's got her own fan club within the Good Morning Portugal community now. Hey, look, Peggy is here, yay. And she's saying, I'll pop the cork now. She needs no encouragement, that lady. And why should she? Hi, Cole. Love the show. Happy birthday. Thank you, Cliff. Really appreciate it. Happy birthday. Have a great day for Claire and Steve. Oh, you guys. Sorry about this, Julie. Happy birthday. And for sorting out the sound. Yeah, that's a relief to me. And from Owen, also in Central Portugal, very happy birthday. And from Mrs. M, happy birthday, my love. Yes, I love that curveball you got there, that you met your love here, Julie. That's fantastic. And settled down here in Portugal. I hope you and your family have a wonderful birthday together. Thank you, Gary. Peggy, there, responding to her fan club, I think. And a parabéns finally there from Michael. Yeah, driving in Portugal. What is it about central Portugal? And when you look on the map, you see that it's only about 10 kilometers to somewhere. The journey planner tells you it will take half an hour, and then an hour later you're still not there. What is that all about, Julie? How does that happen in central Portugal? Is it a Harry Potter thing?
I think it is. We're in a bit of a time warp in lots of aspects, really. Yeah, I think it's, you get stuck behind a tractor, or someone's blocking the road because they've parked to go in and go and sort of see their mum or something, or to have a chat with a neighbour. Or if you're not familiar with the area, it's very, very easy to get lost, as I'm sure you know.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's it's just kind of something you get used to. You don't really get anywhere in a hurry, I don't think.
And that's the thing, isn't it? You have to own it and embrace it, don't you? Because if you get upset about that, probably Portugal, and certainly Central Portugal, is not the place to be.
No, I mean, because I don't work as a teacher anymore, I gave that up a few years ago to do the blogging full time and sort of devote myself to the business. But yeah, when I used to travel in every day, I kind of, because there's only a couple of places where you can overtake on the N17 between us and Coimbra, and so if you don't manage to get past slow moving traffic, then there's just no point. You just kind of got to sit back and go, okay, so this is the speed I'm going at. Done. But then I did used to get a bit shouty at the people who would kind of sneak in past me, or be sort of riding my bumper. And so, yeah, I find that very stressful when people are right up behind me.
Okay. All right. So let's dive into that then, because you have, you, as I said, you are a prolific blogger, and it's very interesting you say there that it is your business, it is your livelihood now, because I'm sure people might want to ask you about that as well. Any questions for Julie, do stick them in the comments. But that is amazing as well to have created a business, and presumably that means working from home, but also going on these wonderful road trips that I think you're going to tell us more about as well. So specifically then, and I will share it on the screen, 25 essential tips for driving in Portugal, and you title this "Without Losing Your Cool." Why would anyone lose their cool, Julie?
Well, you've read the article, so and you've lived here long enough to kind of like have a rough idea. But yeah, apart from the tail hugging, which is probably my number one bugbear.
Yeah.
The sort of other things that I find challenging, shall we say, are one thing I just don't understand, and maybe you can help me out because I just don't get it. When you're on a motorway, surely the logical thing is to let people off before you let anyone else back on. Yeah, at a slip road.
Yeah.
But that isn't always the case here. And the first time I encountered it, I was like, oh, what's going on? So when I drive into Coimbra, we often sometimes I take the N17, sometimes I take the IP3. And if you come off the IP3 to go to Coimbra, you have to come off the IP3 and get on the IC2. IC2? Something like that. Anyway, and it's one of these really weird, horrible junctions where you've got traffic coming at you. You're trying to get off, they're trying to get on, and it's mayhem.
Yeah. And what do you do under that circumstance? Is this you trying to leave the road or trying to get onto the road?
You're trying to leave,
yes,
and people are trying to get on at the same time in the same place. So the entrance is really just a few meters before the exit.
Yes,
and it's a curve as well, so they can't really see you can't really see them until you're kind of next to each other or on top of each other, hopefully not. So when you know that junction is like that, you can sort of slow down and kind of be prepared, but the first time it's proper scary.
So true, so true. And yeah, I mean, I guess it's like a cultural thing, isn't it, that you just have to get used to. I mean, we mentioned this yesterday briefly about how Portuguese people, and I think this is an acknowledged thing, undergo a personality change. It's a very this is how I've heard it put anyway. It's a very, this is what we love, obviously, about being in Portugal and Portuguese people is how how much like in many ways the Brits are of being, sort of fairly calm and quiet. And, there is this rivalry between the Portuguese and the Spanish, isn't there? The Spanish people are so noisy and expressed, and the Portuguese people, I think, pride themselves a little bit on being a bit more reserved and respectful and quiet and so on. And all those funny things that races do to each other. But when they're in the car, that's their opportunity to let off a bit of steam. It's a bit like, I suppose, for British people going to football or whatever, you see another side of someone's character suddenly come out because it's culturally acceptable. And perhaps that's how it is in a car. And that's another reason perhaps why it takes, sometimes an hour to get to Coimbra, because you can't go off at that junction and you have to go on to the next one because you don't want to risk life and limb by leaving on that particular exit, maybe.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, and another thing I find difficult is roundabouts.
Okay.
Because I don't know if, like, sort of a few years ago they tried to sort of tighten up. The rule was always there, I think, that if to leave the roundabout, you should only be in the outside lane of it if you're leaving at that very next exit.
Yeah.
So if you've got a 2-lane roundabout and you want to go straight over it, and there's an exit to another exit before that, if it's only a short roundabout, it's really hard to actually do that, to get into the middle lane and then off again into the outside lane, because nobody else respects that. So you've got someone else kind of like coming around the outside already, and you're like, no, but I need to be there because I'm supposed to get there to get off. And because in the UK, the sort of the roundabouts are painted so that the lanes feed into the exits. Well, that doesn't happen here. There's one.
I have seen that, Julie. Yeah, because there have been GNR issued videos on how to drive a roundabout appropriately, aren't they? Because it's such a contentious issue.
Yeah, the worst one, the roundabout I hate the most, is in Lisbon. It's near the airport, and there's about 5 lanes, and there are traffic lights. And I try to avoid it now, but I don't always remember. So if you're coming from the airport and you want to get onto the A1 to go north, you have to go right the way around it. So if you're doing it properly, you would get into the kind of like the inside lane and then gradually work your way towards the 5th exit. It's just impossible, and it's the scariest roundabout ever.
And it's the one a lot of people encounter for the very first time in their life on a Portuguese road. I know that roundabout so well. It's hilarious. Well, it is now, talking about it in the comfort of our own homes. But I have been round that roundabout 2 or 3 times, because I do that thing where I think, okay, I'll go into the middle bit and I'll slowly ease my way out. And it's not clear, where the A1, N1 is. So you're edging your way there. And not to add, a further complexity to that, there are like 3 or 4 sets of traffic lights on the roundabout, aren't there? So as you leave each set of traffic lights, you have to edge it further out to your exit. And I'm thinking, have I got further enough over? Am I too far over? Is somebody going to beep at me from behind? Apparently, the shortest unit of time this is for physicists. The shortest unit of time is the time it takes a Lisbon taxi driver to hoot his horn after the traffic light has gone green. And that's the other thing, isn't it? Is from every angle you're thinking there might be a car coming in from left or right. Someone's going to hoot me from behind. Someone might stop and have a conversation in front of me. Oh, and the other thing, of course, with roundabouts that you need to get used to be aware of, and we say this in a very loving way, is people using them as car parks. Have you parked? Are you proper Portuguese yet? In as much as, have you parked on a roundabout yet?
Me? No, because it's so wrong. Don't do that. No.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, some people just can't, can they? Oh, brilliant. Carl McAdam, or it could be a personal adult moment when you realise you forgot to incorporate the fact that your van has a limiter. Oh, can you imagine that, driving across the central Portugal hills? Your van is limited to 60 miles an hour. Yeah, when we drove over to you on Sunday, it took 7 hours. That's a test for everyone concerned, isn't it? Round trip instead of the 5 hours on the sat nav. We do need to talk about sat nav, don't we, Julie? Next, Peggy. The worst for me is the Portuguese driver just pulls up and stops. They stop in the road and just walk away. They double park. They pull up in yards and on sidewalks, exactly anywhere and everywhere they want. you got to go with it, Peggy, and you got to try it for yourself sometime. But if it like you saw the reaction Julie gave there about not parking on roundabouts, we can't do it, can we? But I think we've all got to maybe commit to doing it. It's part of being properly immersed in Portuguese culture, parking on a roundabout and just stopping where you please and having a chat for a moment. Everyone will be fine. It's a lot easier driving around a roundabout in an 8-meter motorhome. Everyone else has to stop. Okay. Yes, we know your sort. We've been behind you. The airport roundabout is dreadful. Yes, Ty Johnson knows that roundabout. And it is the first thing many people experience. They just pick up their hire car, a car they've never driven before, onto this roundabout. And one of our favourite pastimes, says Shirley, is going round the roundabout until you recognise where you've got to get off. I think our record is... This is confession time as well for people 6 times. That must be a record, Shirley. All raising a glass of Prosecco to you for that new world record. Julie, Satnav in Portugal.
Yeah. Well, up until sort of very recently, until we just changed our car this year, just before lockdown, when we couldn't use it anymore. But anyway, that's a different story. But we used to rely on Google Maps for navigation, and most of the time that's okay, except when the GPS signal cuts out just when you need it most. And usually when I'm driving around Porto and it's already stressful, and I've missed my exit and everything else. But I have noticed, hi Carlene. I have noticed that now that we've got a car with a GPS thing in it, it can't find our house. It doesn't recognise our road name, even though I put it into Google Maps, because we only got road names about 2 years ago. So I've been onto Google Maps and sort of claimed the road names in the village, but the GPS systems haven't kind of caught up with that. So yeah, I haven't quite got my head around using that properly yet. I still sort of revert to Google Maps.
So the advice is not to rely on that, right?
Well, no, it is good if you can actually manage to get the system to recognise the place that you want to go to, and you're confident that that is the place that you want to go to.
Yeah. Okay. So bear those caveats in mind, happy travellers, because that other thing, like I think what you're alluding to there, Julie, is that there are some place names in Portugal that are very common. Words like Valongo or Ribeira, or there are certain words, aren't there? Certain place names that discover that there are 10,000 places called that. So you might have to be a little bit specific.
Yeah, we live in a village called Mora Morta, and there are at least 3 Mora Mortas in Portugal. There's a lovely schist village not so far from us near Lousar called Sodeira, and that they actually have a collection. They've done up a lot of the old stone cottages, and it's like holiday accommodation. But there's another Sodeira not very far away from there. So if you didn't know that you wanted that Sodeira, you're going to end up somewhere completely different if that's all you put into the GPS. So yeah, you have to know which one you want.
Yeah, and as I've said before, and I'm sure we'll say again, this is all part of life in Portugal, isn't it? Is that allow more time. Don't expect to be herring round like you've done in your country of origin. You came here to relax. You came here to take it easy. So relax and take it easy and allow a little bit more time for all of these things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Question for you. Before we move on any further, though, your website address, what people can enjoy there currently, and what's coming up.
Okay, well, I wrote my full name on this so that you can see the spelling, because my website is called the web address is juliedawnfox.com. The name of it is Julie Dawn Fox in Portugal, highly original. And actually, if I could change it now, I would, but it's kind of too late, really. But anyway, what you can find there is loads of information about off the beaten track destinations in Portugal, little villages, pretty towns, and the big cities, what you can do in the cities, day trips from the cities, There's stories about some legends, Portuguese food, culture, drinks, lots of drinks. What else? Itineraries. There's all sorts of stuff. There's also a section for people who are thinking of moving to Portugal, or who have and are still settling in. And I'm actually I'm going to. I keep saying this and I keep thinking about it, but I'm wanting to sort of revive that side of things and start doing a bit more sort of on the expat kind of theme. So watch this space on that. At the moment, what I'm working on is a whole section on road trips. I'm starting with the biggest and longest road trip in Portugal, the N2. Have you heard of? Have you done it? Do you know anyone who's done it yet?
The N2, is that also known as Portugal's Route 66?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love the idea of that. That's wonderful. And when you're coming to this latitude, I mean, let's meet up and do a little broadcast if that's what you're doing, because it's such an unknown and fabulous offer, isn't it, as a tourism thing? Tell us more, Julie.
Okay, well, to be honest, over the years, I realised, because I've been thinking about, should I write something about the N2? And then I realised that I've actually driven most of it over the years. So I'm already familiar with lots of sections. There's a bit in the Alentejo that I've driven, but I didn't really make any of the stops in the kind of villages along and towns on the way. So I'm going to go back and do that. And there's a couple of places in the north that I want to kind of just double check. But basically, it goes all the way from Chaves to Faro. So it's right north to south. It actually comes very close to where I live. And so one section of it I know extremely well, because I used to travel to go to my yoga class on the N2 to go to near Goish. But yeah, basically I've put together a guide based on my experience so far, the research I've done, and so it's like a practical, sort of how to do the N2. And I'm going to update it as well when I have fresh information. But I thought rather than wait, put the information that I've gathered so far out there so people can start using it. So I'm going to do. I've already also got a road trip essentials practical guide in the sort of in the works, and I'm going to do some more other kind of more localized road trips in different parts of the country. So the Minho, Central Port. I've already got one on Central Portugal. But yeah, different kind of areas that I particularly like.
Oh, that's really stirred my imagination and wish to do that. Two bits of it come to mind for me. I like where you say around Goish and Arganil. That's traditional. I mean, to me, it's like the traditional trade route, isn't it, of Portugal? And you get an incredible sense of the history of Portugal. And before the toll roads came, before the bigger roads came, and how people must have driven like really primitive like trucks back in the 40s and 50s up those mountain roads with cork on the back or timber or whatever. And then all the lovely places they stopped at, they must have had to sleep over at places. They must have had to eat, obviously. And that produced a whole kind of economy and culture, didn't it? And you see that in Alentejo as well. That if you take the Route 66 N2 down in Alentejo, it's so historically rich, and you get this incredible sense of a bygone age down there. Really brilliant idea. Yeah, love it.
Yeah. We did a section of it sort of a couple of weeks ago, just between us and down to a branch, and that goes going through Goish and down sort of further south, the Criparil Dam and everywhere. It's just so beautiful. It's really, really lovely. But if you don't like winding roads, then it's not the road trip for you.
That's a really good caveat. Yeah, well said. Well said. Be careful. Yeah, if there are family members who don't take too well to that, maybe a train journey. Thanks for this question, FD. Julie, is it possible to see most of Portugal by train? Have you done much on the trains here?
I've done a bit on the trains. I've been down to the Algarve on the train. I've been up to as far as Braga on the train. But to be honest, most of my travels have been by car because I like to go to places that are a bit further afield. And so, yeah, cities you can get to by train, but beyond that, it's tricky.
Yeah.
So because the public transport, buses don't tend to run at weekends, or if they run in the week, then it's around the school and work times. So yeah, I've just found it so much easier, and especially where we live. I mean, I have to drive to get to a train station, so
Yeah.
I might as well just drive to where I'm going.
Totally understand that, and it's very much a car culture. It's something I think, along with how we started off the show talking about rentals and the cooking of the economy in Lisbon. I think something will have to be done ultimately to or something great could happen around public transport in Portugal, because there are fabulous old railway lines, aren't there? But it's just that they're not. If you don't use them, you lose them. That's how it works.
I know, it's such a shame, because there used to, like you say, there used to be a lot more regional train lines going into the interior.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have been turned into ecopistas, so cycle paths and stuff like that, which is great. But it means that the sort of the interior is still kind of very weak on infrastructure, and it kind of you've got the chicken and egg situations. If you want to attract more people to come and live in the kind of more isolated areas, you need the infrastructure, you need the public transport, and you need some decent internet.
Yeah. There we go.
But unless they're subsidised, it's not going to happen, because there isn't the kind of demand, the sort of to pay for it in these underpopulated places. So, yeah, that's a good point, Gary. I've just seen that Red Express goes further.
That's the coach service, isn't it? For those who don't know, yeah. I mean, and I know that there are these little I can't remember the word of it's Rodovario, is it the terminus? Excuse me, where yes, it's incredible. I mean, you can just get all over Portugal, can't you? If you get to the right coach station, you do have connections everywhere. It's incredible, and the value is there as well. Really, I mean, it's the same with the trains. Public transport, if it does work for you, is really good value here, and usually of a pretty good service. Yeah, good service, good value, in my experience. So, but you have to sort of choose it and pick it wisely. I'm very lucky to live on the Northern Line, which connects Lisbon to Porto. And there are some. I mean, you could have a nice train, like a road trip, train trip, if you see what I mean, and stop off at various places. But as Julie says, it just doesn't. The coverage isn't comprehensive by any means, is it? And that's a missed opportunity, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there are like a lot of the major train stations, like sort of Coimbra, Porto, Lisbon, and Faro, presumably, and maybe some of the others. They have car rental places at the train station, so you can ride and then drive. So you don't have to drive the whole journey. That's a possibility. Especially if you don't have a car, then yeah, take the train as far as you can, pick up a car, do a little bit, come back on the train.
And Coimbra is good for that, isn't it? I noticed at Coimbra B, I don't own a car here, so I hire a car when I want to use one. A little bit more difficult in the summer, or a little bit more expensive, I should say. But Coimbra B, I think tourists should know, is where you can get to very easily. It's one of the two stations, one just on the outskirts of Coimbra, but there are a number of car hire places there. So that's a really good combo of car hire and train travel. Thinking of Coimbra, and you've got to visit Coimbra, right? So maybe that's what we should finish with, Julie. Is if someone is planning a trip here, it might be to be a tourist. It might be to think about living here. I know this is a really difficult question, but where must they go on their first trip here, on their first exploratory trip? She hates you.
That's an impossible question.
No better woman to answer it, though.
Well, I think that you need to get out. If you're thinking about where do I want to live, I mean, obviously, before you even come and sort of decide where you want to visit, you have to do a lot of thinking about what sort of place is suitable for you. Do your kind of what's essential to me, what's desirable to me, being honest with each other. if you're in a partnership, really honest with each other.
Good
um,
advice. That's really good.
but then I think, get away from the obvious places. So, the Lisbon, Cascais, the sort of Algarve towns, and Porto, and explore a bit, come away from the coast and have a look inside, see what's there, because it's often much better value for money. You do have to, once you get into the kind of away from the coast, the temperature is something you need to sort of bear in mind.
Oh, yeah.
Find sort of places. I love personally. I love the Minho. It's my favourite part of Portugal. I love central Portugal as well. I mean, I like something about all of the parts of Portugal, to be honest. But I think if I was to move, I would be looking at north.
Okay. And on that bombshell, the Algarve, says Peggy. She would, of course. Are there walking tours of Coimbra? COVID restrictions being observed, of course. Yeah, there are, aren't there, Julie?
Yeah. There's. Can I mention a company?
Please do. Yeah, absolutely. Of course you can.
Yeah. So there's a company called Go Walks Portugal. And they've been doing amazing walking tours of Coimbra for several years now. So and they will be more than happy for some custom at the moment. So yeah, you can tell them I sent you.
Okay, I think Jeannie's offering me as a tour guide as well now. All right, I'll do it. That's from Jeannie, who interestingly says she uses Waze. That's a different sat-nav system, isn't it? Parabéns, Carl. We don't have problems driving. For us, it is heaven compared with driving in Belgium. Okay, it's all relative, isn't it? Julie, thank you so much. You can find out more about Julie at juliedawnfox.com. Let me just put that on the screen again for you there. Fantastic website. Lovely to meet you finally and talk with you. And I hope you'll come back, see this as your home in this fine community here.
Thank you. Yes, I think I will be back. So watch this space.
Excellent. It's nice to follow the program, but my internet is crap. There we go. I can choose if I still try to listen, but then a rock will probably go through my computer screen. Ferry is not happy with his internet. We made mention of that. It is getting better all over Portugal. I think the vision you speak of, Julian, I'm really excited about this actually, because they've made a nod towards it with the golden visa, and they're investing 350,000 into the interior, or the non sort of known parts of Portugal, gets you residency. Internet is getting better. Portuguese people themselves, I think, are thinking, hold on a minute, why don't we go and live where we went as kids on holiday instead of this crazy life we're living either on the seaboard or in the big towns? It's happening. I think something really wonderful is happening, and it can be kind of the saving grace and the evolutionary twist, the plot twist for Portugal. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, yeah. And I know that there is a government incentive to, they're actually paying people to come and live in the interior now. I think it's like €5,000 or something like that. But yeah, actual sort of real money to do it. And I also think that, what's happened with COVID is also going to encourage people to sort of move out of expensive places. The whole working from home, if they can get the internet sorted out, then working from home is perfectly possible. It's cheaper to do it here. It's nicer for kids to be out in the countryside. So yeah, I think there's more chance of these things happening now than ever before. And there's a whole kind of like back to your roots, kind of grow your own vegetables kind of movement happening as well. So yeah.
Excellent. Happy homesteading is the future as far as we're concerned. Julie, you've been amazing. Thank you very much. Come back soon. Tell us more about the Route 66 tour. I totally love that idea. And of course, anything else that you're thinking on your site there, you're welcome anytime. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Cheers. Wonderful. There's Julie Dawn Fox. JulieDawnFox.com. I'm going to finish with telling you what's going on for the rest of the week. Look, and a little bit of an advert here and a very nice suggestion by Gary. I think as it's your birthday, everyone watching or listening should buy you a packet of seeds at least. Buy your packet of seeds at least. A great work. I hope the program continues to grow as it has done recently. It so has. There's the link if you do want to buy it. That's how we fund this thing. I thought it was very interesting that Julie was talking about how she decided to make her blog her living. Really good to hear that and to know that there are people doing that, working in different ways. Our business model is based as happy homesteaders on people metaphorically buying us seeds, which you can do at coffee.com/Colemunson. If you do want to support us in that way, so many seeds germinating and growing in our garden, as you saw from the starter screen this morning. So thank you so much. A ciao from Peggy down there in the Algarve, who I hope is going to be a permanent fixture of our mornings here together. Tomorrow, Michael Brodie is back from OurNet. We are envisioning Portugal in 2070, 50 years from now, which, as I said yesterday, might be a legacy thing for some of us. I'm 55 today. I don't know if I'll be around in 2070. Who knows what health developments may make that possible? But it doesn't stop us thinking about how life might be for our kids and grandkids and what shape we can leave it in for 2070 and way beyond. Let's think 7 generations, folks, and have a think about that with Michael from OurNet tomorrow. We've got Vaughan with us on Thursday, just confirmed with Vaughan yesterday. He's been writing about policing in the Algarve, and he comes from a policing background himself, training the police back in the UK, I believe. Been writing about his experience talking to the police in the Algarve and their work, which I thought would be really interesting to talk about on Thursday. Not an easy job, bit of a tough job that, of course, and always open to criticism, aren't they, the police? But who would want to do that job? And Friday, we are launching the Friday phone-in. 913, let me just put this on the screen right now so you've got this to call in. What I'm saying to people is talk about anything to do with Portugal that you love, that you're struggling with. And as long as it's relevant, as long as it's respectful, and as long as it's legal, let's have that conversation. My motivation for it is that there are just too many shutdowns now in social media spaces. Okay, people have, understandably, people have get very uptight and emotional, and we've got this cancel culture, and we've got people getting really offended about stuff, and I totally get that. But what that means is that there are fewer places for self-expression and respectful for communication, because people are getting really scared about it. I'm going to uphold, I hope, a tradition of respectful, relevant, and legal communication between people. I'm not going to stand for any nonsense, but I'm also going to hold the space for people being able to say what they think if they honestly believe it. And we can talk about it, for heaven's sakes, folks. That's the idea of the Friday phone-in here on Good Morning Portugal, which I hope will become a regular feature. So if something's been really getting on your wick, or something is just brimming your heart with joy, come talk to me about that. 913-590-303 on Friday when we launch. I've got to go and enjoy my birthday. And I do thank you all for your wonderful birthday greetings this morning. It really means a lot. Thank you. For somebody who doesn't make a big deal about celebrating their birthday, you guys, you've done it for me. Thank you so much. So I wish you a good day. See you tomorrow. Até amanhã. Take care. Bye. And ciao for now.